Hello and welcome into the KE Report. I'm your host, Shad Markwitz, and we're getting an update today with Goliath Resources. Goliath is traded on the TSX.V under the ticker GOT and on the OTCQB under the ticker GOTRF. I'm joined today with the founder and CEO of Goliath Resources, Roger Rosmus. And Roger, it's great to have you on the show again. It's only been a month since we talked. We were looking at this. We last talked on January the 14th, and at the time your stock price was trading about $1 less than it is now, and it already had a big pop because at the time we were talking about that banger of a hole, 260, which had the really high grade, the 34.52 grams per ton gold over 39 meters. That really got the market's attention, Roger. But you've continued to put out news since then. It's hard to keep up with what Goliath Resources has been working on because, in addition to two more sets of drill results that have come out, and we'll get into that in this call. You also brought in McEwen Mining as a strategic shareholder, and that gave the stock another pop. So here we are a month later. You're trading a dollar higher, market cap over 300 million, and lots of news flow on tap. Just for the audience listening in, just give us a quick snapshot of just how crazy this last month has been.
Hey, Shad, thanks for having me back. And it's hard to believe it's only been a month. Feels almost, it's been many months, but yeah, things are happening in real time here pretty quick. As we know, we had a bit of a bottleneck getting our assays coming out of the various labs. And now we've got through that bottleneck. So clearly, I think we had at one point, close to 100 holes coming kind of thing. And, we're slowly releasing those out. Which actually all have been, very good results for us, mineable widths, mineable grades. And, we still have another 77 holes to report. Of those holes, about 50, I did the math this morning, about 53% of those actually have visible gold in them with obviously coarse grain gold as well. So we're obviously excited to get those out as soon as possible. The guys are currently receiving information every day. We do want to get everything out before PDAC because we want to update our model, which is going to have a pretty significant new, iteration to that. Again, with all these pierce points, we have now 300 pierce points, 247 holes, just under 100,000 meters totally drilled within that Surebet zone or that 1.8 square kilometer. And then, we've got that series of stacked veins basically from top to bottom, roughly cover 1.2 kilometers. So the hits keep on coming. As well as new zones as well, which we'll get into, I guess, when we talk about some of the news on the 10th and 18th of this month. But obviously a new name to come onto the register, obviously a TSX.V approval here, where we're doing essentially a share exchange with McEwen Mining. They're taking a toehold, which is a huge feather in our cap. Obviously, Rob McEwen is a personal investor in the name, and now McEwen Mining as own shares in Goliath. We're actually own shares in McEwen Mining as well. And on that note, I do believe McEwen Mining could potentially be a $20 to $30 stock once they IPO that copper asset in Argentina. So that would be potentially free cash flow to the company without any dilution. So that was obviously one of the motivations as well to have their seal of approval in relation to coming on to the share register, which is always a benefit. Gives us optionality. And, among other things, it's just a really good thing for the story. And then, like I say, we're up $1 from last time we spoke, which seems kind of crazy. But, to that point, certainly that 1,300 gram meter hole, I think woke up the street. But the fact is, we have hit on every hole that we have drilled into the system and finding new veins that we didn't even know existed. So let's call it the not just one hole or two hole, is holy crap, they've actually hit on every hole they drilled. It's got gold, and I call it the point of recognition, where people are kind of going, wow, okay, this thing is massive, and they still don't know how big it is. So it's clearly much bigger than currently what we have, and we could be just seeing the tip of the iceberg. What we drilled today. Again, everything's up above the valley floor. We've hit those 4 brand new lenses below the valley floor, only 480 meters down, where we hit 4, 2 of which had visible gold assays pending. So that's part of the 77 holes to come pre-PDAC, as well as diverge momentarily. Obviously, Treasure Island up to the north, 40 kilometers away, VMS style. But really, the meat and potatoes here is obviously the Surebet Discovery, and just the hits keep on coming. I don't think we've disappointed the market, clearly based on the way we're trading here, attracting a new partner We're getting a lot of attention. My phone has been ringing off the hook. My voice is kind of toast here from the last week and a bit here from all the calls and interviews, which is great. We're looking forward to an amazing PDAC as well. We'll be doing the Metals Investors Forum in Toronto. So lots of folks will be coming down, and we're super excited to get to Toronto and continue telling the story.
Yeah, Roger, and those Toronto events are just right around the corner, really. So people can go see you, see the drill core, see the maps, and hopefully see an updated model on all of this drilling you've done. Let's get into some of the new areas that you've been drilling, though. These new lenses, these new veins you've been hitting, as well as the reduced intrusion area, which I think is another interesting part of the drilling you've been doing. Just as you're getting things pulled up here on the 10th, I think it's interesting to note that that reduced intrusion style of mineralization is different than some of these other veins and lenses you've been seeing. It has those signatures of the bismuth and the moly in it. And it kind of lets you know there's two mineralized systems showing up at the same time. So we've talked a little bit about that in the past, but just in talking with other investors, Roger, I noticed that some of them don't get this. So let's maybe walk it through, and just in a high level sense. You got the
Sure.
high grade, you got these veins, but you also have this other mineralized system coming in. What could that mean for the project? What could that mean for the heat source down below? Give us put some color around some of these results that you put out on the 10th.
Sure. Yeah, and again, this isn't the only hole in this reduced intrusive area or within these dikes. We had pretty much ignored them up until last year, where we discovered that these little veinlets within. I'll just scooch down to a image here. So these veinlets are carrying, again, the bismuth, the moly, and visible gold as well, which is pretty incredible. So what we ended up doing was relogging a bunch of these holes. Actually, this hole was from 2022 that we drilled. This is the one that was our headliner hole, where we discovered there's actually mineralization. So we had to relog, I guess it was 13 holes from 2021 to 2023. And of those, I guess there was about 6 of them had the VG, chunks of moly and bismuth as well. So from a analogy of, okay, what's going on here, is what's unique is the fact that we have dated all of these rocks. They're all in around 50 to 55 million years old. If you look from surface, I'm just going to flop over to the presentation here. So here are these dikes that we're getting this reduced intrusive style of mineralization, and where some of these holes that we announced earlier last week is at surface. It looks like the dikes are cutting through the veins, and as you know, here at Surebet, we've got this slight, dipping southwest shear zones, mineralized, which is up in the Hazelton sedimentary group. But as you go to a microscopic level in the drill core, it looks like the veins that are dipping here are actually cross-cutting the dikes. So that tells us, or we believe anyways, the theory is that clearly these dikes had something to do with the plumbing that brought all this mineralization to flooding the Surebet, which is up in the sedimentary group. It's got lots of VG in the contact between the seds and volcanics. We've got lots of VG, and then also in the below in the volcanics, plus reducive. So every rock package has gold in it, which is pretty incredible. So what does that mean? Is the mothership, we believe, is we may have a pathway to the mothership, which will be our drilling focus in 2025, as well as obviously going back to that 1,300 gram meter area in the Bonanza, which lies flat. I think this image here kind of gives a good idea. I think this is probably the best, easiest one to walk through here. So all of this up is in the sedimentary group, Hazelton, and then the purple here is our Bonanza. And then again, those 4 brand new lenses, we went down 480 meters below the valley floor. 4 of them, 2 of them had VG. So what does it tell us? There's more going on down here. We'll continue to drill these dikes and obviously sample the dikes. There's reduced intrusive style mineralization. And again, hopefully we drill into, that mother feeder ship heat engine that brought all the mineralization to surface. So I guess just to summarize in a lay form, the fact that there's so much mineralization, VG, bismuth, moly, in this reduced intrusive, high grade, mineable widths would suggest that the feeder is also of similar grade. Obviously subject to drilling and assays and so on and so forth, but it's a very positive outcome coming out of 2024 for us.
Well, and let's also talk about, while you got that visual up, Roger, just those new stacked veins that you found there at depth. That's an exciting area. So let's maybe hone in on that. Anything from the press release on the 10th or even on the 18th that you want to highlight as far as some of these new areas that you're finding new to the company, but just showing you that there's more pay dirt at depth?
Yeah, really, it's just, in this one here, we actually found 5 new stack veins that don't correspond to anything that we can see at the moment. They may correspond to, one of the identified zones or veins that we have. And then, in the 2018, the February 18th news, we found 2 additional stacked gold veins, which again had mineable widths, mineable grades. So I've got the spaghetti kind of image here just to kind of give it I'll zoom in here. Hopefully you can read that okay. But so right now we've got probably over 1.2 kilometers of stacked veins, obviously with the Bonanza and Surebet and Goldzilla, et cetera. And it does remain open. So the potential for expansion we think is highly probable, because we do see mineralization, or let's call it the Bonanza itself, the contact outcropping on the north slope of the mountain and the south slope. So this is actually looking kind of northish here. And so we do see Bonanza outcropping, all the way here towards the jackpot. And then also on the north slope, looking at the mountain, you can see the contact, and it's basically the elevation. We can tell it's, it's in that contact. It's probably the same vein type of thing. So clearly, there's more to drill here, and the TAC for 2025 will just keep on drilling. The best, I guess, question that we can answer is the fact we don't know how big it is, and it just gets bigger and bigger every time we drill it each year. So I anticipate we'll have a similar year in 2025 drilling.
Well, Roger, that brings up another point. I think I've had 5 or 6 people email me and say, "Hey, would you ask Roger where the resource is?" And to the point you just made, you don't know how big it is yet. You haven't even tested the limits of it yet, much less started to infill some of these areas. So I know we've talked about this before, but let's talk about it again. There's so much drilling to still do, even in a follow-up program or even from this program. Explain to people why putting out a resource now would just be kind of premature.
Yeah, premature. Again, the biggest one being the fact we still don't know how big it is. And then you look at, the spacings that we have. Depending if you want to go M&I or inferred, et cetera, you're going to need, less than 100-meter spacing, or less than 50 or 50-ish. We don't want to blow up the capital structure. So at this point, I think the continuity, predictability of, drilling these various zones like the Surebet Bonanza as an example, if we can put in kind of 100-meter spacings in here, and hitting the model, or basically hitting the system plus or minus 5 meters, 5 to 10 meters, I think would give any miner confidence that, the predictability is there, or continuity is there. And so that's going to be part of the TAC as well in 2025. And the biggest bang for our dollar is going to be, I think, in the Bonanza, where again, we're getting this consistently over 1 ounce type of material over, almost pretty much true widths. The last 39 meters over 1 ounce, and then within that, 10 meters of over 4 ounces, which is pretty much true width there, which starts in high grade, ends in high grade. The bottom line, in any mining scenario, they're just going to take they're just going to drift right into this. So, underground at Kirkland Lake, or these other areas, 1 in 5 or 1 in 7 holes, if it has mineralization, they're just going to drift right into it. They're going to take everything with them. So, it's different from let's call it putting resource together versus a mining scenario. They're just going to take the entire vein wherever the mineralization is consistent, because it is coarse grain type of gold that we have in the system here. So, with that, we'll just keep on drilling, and we'll see where it takes us here, and reevaluate after the 2025 drill program.
Well, you said something a minute ago that makes me think we may want to talk about this. You said that the Bonanza shear may drift over towards jackpot. We haven't
Correct.
really talked about jackpot a lot. I don't know if you've even put out any holes yet on jackpot, but what is the thesis there that the exploration team has? Is like, could those two areas be connected in some way?
Uh, you know what?
I know that's
Every,
not on this release, but I just thought I'd ask you, put you on the spot.
yeah. I mean, every try, I'll flip back to this here. So we've got these four lenses down here. Jackpot is kind of around here. Um, and then if you look at the this image here in the deck is one of our consultants thinks that Surebet, this is the Surebet here, just kind of continues trucking down to whatever the mother feeder ship, let's call it. And then we're gonna have a whole series of these other areas where there was cracks in the earth and the gold was flooded through, is where possibly jackpot was mineralized from here, or potentially there's another source over to the east here, because what is interesting here, and we're figuring this stuff out. I mean, it's there's lots of surprises, obviously, every year that you drill. You've got your down dipping kind of south-southwest Surebet zone, but then you've got the flatline Bonanza, which actually dips to the what's called the east here. So, is there another source here? Like, it's just one of these things that exploration is every year you're going to get new material that you can hone in on what's actually happening here, and again possibly drill into that feeder.
Well, I appreciate you humoring my question there. And yeah, it's interesting that the Surebet has one orientation and that the Bonanza Shear has a different one. So, and it could
Yeah,
be that from depth, from that mothership feeder zone, that everything kind of came up and seeded two or three different areas. You haven't even drilled yet the Blue Origin area, which could be somehow tied into all this. It's about 4 kilometers away. You did some channel samples earlier this year, which I think is another exciting area that again could eventually tie into a resource, but it's a little bit too early to know until you drill it. And then obviously you still have the work we haven't even talked about till later in the drill program from the Cambria ice fields and Treasure Island. But just from the Surebet Discovery area here, while we're zoomed in on it, and Bonanza is where a lot of the meat and potatoes is coming in. Is there anything else you want to say from the recent drilling? I heard somebody the other day say, "Well, they're only doing 100 gram meter holes." It's like only
yeah,
that's actually amazing. So maybe just again reiterate that, you know, 10, 10.91 grams per ton gold over 10 meters or 12 grams per ton gold over 10 meters. These are amazing hits. If you were a brand new company putting out those holes, people would
yeah.
be doing backflips in the aisle. So maybe just talk about the continuity of putting out so many holes like that, and the hit rate that your team has is amazing on this project.
Yeah. Well, and I think that goes to the fact, where the stock is currently trading is, again, we haven't missed on any hole. And even we've got lots of 35 gram meter hole, 50 gram meter holes at mineable widths, mineable grades. So uh, I think, maybe we've spoiled some of the people, announcing, 3 to 500 gram meter holes. But I mean, that just doesn't happen. Every hole is going to be different. And for the most part, obviously that 1,300 gram meter hole is that an outlier. We don't know. We'll go back and put some more holes around there just to see what the heck is going on. But clearly, based on the reaction in the marketplace, where we're trading at, again, a month ago, we were like $1.40 or $1.20. Now we're like 240 Canadian. Is that, we're basically ticking all the boxes. So in that regard, I think people need to kind of maybe look at the entire package of intercepts that we have. So it's not just one hole. We have 247 holes, 300 pierce points of all hit mineralization.
Yeah, and I think it's even important to note that you're even going back and re-logging some old holes because you have a different model now. So we're still going to have data on that coming out. And as you say, still over 77 holes to release to the marketplace from the last year's program. So I'm sure we'll be talking a lot over the course of the next couple of weeks, Roger. But I just think it was nice to dive in visually on this in a video and show people the orientation of how some of these veins are laid out, the new areas, the new veins you found, and the intrusive feeder zone coming from depth. So fun to do this, fun to see the team hitting on a regular basis, and looking forward to getting you back on when more results hit the market. I guess for those following along, if you want to go over to the news section and dive in deep, click on the link below this interview. It takes you right over to the Goliath website, straight to the news section. You can sign up for updates or just follow along every time they put out these monster holes. Roger, always great having you on the show and looking forward to our next conversation.
That's great, Chad. Thanks so much, and look forward to our next meeting.